recently, I think a couple of months ago, you kind of joined forces with Mirror. It's a publishing platform, which is not necessarily, when you think about Mirror, you don't think about newsletters, right? It's more like a publish online. So can you walk us through this decision to join forces with Mirror? Where do you see these two products? Do you see them merging? Do you see them working in parallel? Where are some of the future of these two products?
Initially, when I began working on Paragraph, Mirror looked certainly different than it does today. They were originally focused on, lesser so on writing for individual writers, more so on DAO tooling. They wanted to provide a bunch of different, tools and functionalities for DAOs to communicate and to provide governance decisions together and to sort of tie things all together. And because of that, they also were very crypto native from the very start. Like, you needed a wallet to use it. There's no notion of reaching out to to DAO members via email, etc. Paragraph, on the other hand, like, the value props that I really thought resonated was, can we find ways to maximize distribution for creators? Email, I think, is a very large part. As you know, coming from Substack, it's a very large part to reach people. And then, can we find novel ways for them to monetize? So, the value prop, I think, was pretty different overall initially. I think both products over time eventually developed in a similar direction. I think Mirror, it was a little bit more lucrative for them to start pursuing a little bit more in the writing space. Either individual writers or sort of larger communities or brands or what have you. A lot of them are producing content, and then Mirror wanted to see, could we find new crypto economic ways for them to monetize this content? So eventually the direction, kind of where we ended up, was a little bit similar. I do think Paragraph has always had a much larger emphasis on non-crypto natives. You can sign up with an email right now. You don't need to know nor care about crypto. And then you could still reach an audience and use it effectively like a Substack, or what have you. So, we still differentiated in a handful of ways, but that, some of the kind of underlying fundamental value prop was similar. It seemed for a lot of both creators and readers in the space, like there was some confusion because they said, so how does Paragraph differ from Mirror, and how does Mirror differ from Paragraph? And it generally wasn't sort of a fantastic, I think, onboarding experience, especially because we were trying to onboard new people into the space. So because of that, roughly around this time as well, I think the Mirror team started getting a lot more excited about this other kind of product direction that they wanted to pursue. And then we closed a round of funding a little while ago. One of the same investors that invested in Mirror, Union Square Ventures. After we did that, it seemed like now it would make sense to have a conversation to see if there'd be some way to collaborate in some way with Mirror to allow them to do this new product direction, to make kind of the broad ecosystem much easier to onboard into, because there'd be sort of a product under a single team. And, for us, it would obviously be beneficial to collaborate them because they were a large leader in the space and have been for a little bit. The discussion sort of evolved over time, over a period of several months, into us taking ownership of the Mirror product.
How will that look like for writers and readers, publications? What will change for them in terms of Mirror and Paragraph? So if they ask you, hey, I have this new publication, where should I post now? Mirror or Paragraph? What will you tell them now that you own both products?
So what we're doing right now, I think both products have their strengths and weaknesses. I think Mirror's UX is substantially better. I think their brand has been a lot more well known. I think Paragraph's a handful of our underlying features are built out a little bit more than Mirror's. So what we're doing right now is we're trying to determine what are kind of the core features of each that resonate the most with users that they need. I think it's going to be a multi-month process to determine exactly what kind of a combined product looks like. And then depending on what these features are and kind of what we settle on, that would kind of dictate what the resulting product looks like. I think it's a little too early to say right now, but I think rest assured, no matter what direction we go in, we're going to provide very easy migration paths and automated migrations and ways to kind of preserve and persist content over to whatever sort of single product direction we choose. I do think it makes sense to have a single product, not two. I think even right now, again, it's kind of a little bit confusing and sort of not the greatest UX for new users that onboard. But I still think we need to kind of figure out a little bit what the migration paths would look like and kind of what these core features are that really resonate with people.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, for writers, for both, right? Readers and writers. For writers, it makes sense to kind of unify the network, right? It's much better for people to find what you're writing if it's one network or one UI UX experience, right? And from readers and consumers, it makes sense that they don't need to switch platforms, and that they can find the best of the best quickly. So yeah, I can see how merging both products makes a lot of sense, at least for me as a writer, right?